Well, where's the villain's head?
On the villain's shoulders.
Guards. Kill him!
We are talking Robin of Sherwood, Episode 3, The Witch of Elsdon. Once again directed by Ian Sharp and written by Richard Carpenter. So this is the first episode of our now fully formed bunch of merry men after the events of the introduction. And this is actually quite a complex episode because it does deal with quite a lot of themes. Our kind of A storyline deals with this woman who is a healer, you know, a kind of like a village healer, and she is accused of witchcraft by Guy of Gisburne because apparently he sort of tried to be amorous with her and she rebuffed him, so she sort of calls him he calls her a witch and gets the villagers to kind of sign these documents. Anyway, and she is used by the Sheriff of Nottingham to try and infiltrate the Merrys and use her knowledge of poisons to ultimately disable them, allowing Guy of Gisborne to come in and kill them. The other plots we've got here is we have a subplot where Marion is feeling like she is essentially the cook, the cleaner, the wife of the bunch of outlaws, and never really is a bit shielded from the action, while she feels like, you know, she wants to be more involved directly, and she feels like she's always, you know, being handled with kind of kid gloves. And she makes the comment in this that she had more freedom in the convent. And of course, this episode shows us that she proved her worth by being able to ultimately be the one to not be poisoned and wake our sleeping outlaws just in time before Gisborne's men arrive, and ultimately saving all of them. Now, we also have a very... It's hinted at here with Will Scarlet, because he's the one that catches this witch who is playing that she's escaped from the Sheriff of Nottingham to try and infiltrate the outlaws here. And although it's never really... They don't spend a lot of time with it, you just get the impression that Will had maybe romantic sort of feelings. And you just get there's a really great scenes where I think he just shows you the loneliness that Will Scarlet has after losing his wife, and he sort of comes across, he maybe sees Robin and Marion sort of being loved up, and he feels lonely because obviously he knows that's what he's had, and he meets this woman who could be, so he thinks, maybe the next love of his life, and she ultimately she's married, she's playing a ruse, and it's never really dwelled on too much, but it's just a great scene, again coupled with the fantastic music by Clannad, that you really do see the sorrow and the loneliness played by Will Scarlet here, and obviously fantastically played by Ray Winston. Do I have any critiques with this particular episode? I think maybe this episode's a little action light. Obviously, I expect they spent a lot of budget on the initial 2 episodes. Because this one seems just a little bit light on kind of the action. It's more a character piece, and I think that's not necessarily a criticism. It's more of just an observation. But yeah, it's showing you the formation, if you like, of the status quo within our kind of a group of merry men, our outlaws. I think the only thing I would have said is. Nazir at this point seems to be fully integrated into the group, and since we only saw him join at the very last scene in the final episode, I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more of a transitional period at that point and have a little bit more of a discussion about Nazir's place within the group, because he's there, but we never really spend a lot of time with him in this particular episode, and it's never really touched on, to be honest with you, and there's only until later episodes that we ever really get any kind of like backstory from him. And I just would have thought, because he is such an outsider, he has come from an enemy by choice, not like Little John where he was bewitched, that I think it would have been sensible to have a little bit of story development into you know, him being able to integrate with the group, especially because he is a Muslim and these guys are all pagans, you know, looking at us, you know, Herne the Hunter is their kind of leader. So again, it's just that kind of like that slight kind of dichotomy that I feel is never really explored at all in this series, to be honest. But I think this would have been an episode to have it. But then there you go. Maybe just a little bit of a critique there. You know, I think the acting is fantastic, and of course we have Robin of Sherwood actually going into the Sheriff of Nottingham's Castle and actually facing him. And there's a line in here, and again it's very prophetic, where we have where Robin says towards the end of the episode, you know, we've rescued the husbands, but now the Sheriff of Nottingham is going to hunt me until one of them are dead. And of course, we all know what happens in the end of the second season. So, and obviously at that point they didn't know that was going to happen. So I think that it just lined up to be very prophetic in a lot of ways. I thought it ended up being, you know, pretty good when you kind of look back and watch it all these kind of years later. I truly love the scenes with Marion here. I think she, you know, Julie Trott does such a good job of showing you the frustration that she's having, being the sort of like the den mother, if you like, and she, you know, she proves that she is capable, and she has this sass. And there's just some kind of like ambient little lines that are said here and there, where I think it's just like this gold, where she's, you know, she's playing possum at one point and gets a jump on, you know, Little John and Robin Hood, and you know, there's just a little line where they say, "Oh, she's as bad as Gisburne," and things like that. There's these little kind of like lines here and there that I really feel make this show. And I gotta say, this does focus a little bit more on Guy of Gisburne, and we get a little bit of a flavour of his character. And there's some funny lines here between him and the sheriff. And even though I feel the Sheriff of Nottingham is treated to as somewhat of a comical villain, you do get the impression that he is quite smart, because you know he sees through Guy of Gisburne's like BS straight away, and you know he doesn't do anything about it. But he just kind of makes the comment that he knows that Guy of Gisburne was probably in the wrong, but he'll just like, you know. So you know that the guy is clever and you know is. Kind of like somewhat Machiavellian, but he never really seems that much of a bigger threat to me in the whole series. It was only circumstance that led him to ultimately be, you know, a real threat. But we'll come on to that. But I gotta say, although I don't think this episode is one of the more memorable episodes, having rewatched this one, I couldn't remember that much about it until I was getting it mixed up with the one where there's also another one with Guy of Gisburne with a female sort of guest character, and I kind of got it confused with that one, because it didn't strike me as maybe one of the most memorable episodes. But I've got to say it's one of the best for character development, I think. But it really does solidify the group as a team. And there's a line with the Sheriff of Nottingham who says, "Oh, you know, 6 men and 1 woman, you know, whatever it was, that's all going to be a disaster." And of course it isn't. And obviously we get a subtle bit of character development for Will. Great character development between Robin and you know, and Marion there. And we are introduced to Martin and James, who again, the kind of the cannon fodder, if you like, for the group, who would stick around for a short time in season 1. I actually think this is a pretty strong episode, in all honesty. Quality-wise, I don't think it's maybe the most memorable episode, but if you look at some of the kind of character beats here, I think it's certainly one of the strongest character building episodes. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.